Chapter 3: A Steadier Trade. Saving his father from the road had been the hard, sharp work of a single morning. Keeping him safe was the soft, patient work of the years after, and it began with his father's trade. Because the road had not been an accident of fate alone. It had been an accident of circumstance, a careless contractor, a bad winter, a man driven by need to take dangerous work on dangerous roads in dangerous weather. Ethan had cut the thread to Vance, and David had drifted away from the worst of that careless work on his own, spooked by the near crash into steadier habits. But drifting was not the same as safety. David was still a carpenter who took the jobs that came, and the jobs that came to a working man in a hard trade were not always safe ones, and the river, Ethan had learned, was patient. Save a man from one bad road, and if you left him in a dangerous life, the river would find him another road in time. So Ethan set himself a quieter, longer goal than any single save. To change not just his father's fate on one morning, but the shape of his father's life, to trade the dangerous trade for a steady one, and take away the circumstance that had killed him, so that the river had no easy road left to use. The trouble, as always, was that a 7-year-old could not hand his father a better job. He could not arrange an interview or make an introduction, or do any of the 1,000 adult things that built a career. His only tool was the same one it had always been, the quiet steering of his father's own choices, and the planting of good fortune in such a way that it looked like David's own doing. He had to make the better life arrive, and arrive looking natural, the way he had made the investment in Ethan's company arrive looking like a charmed boy's whim. So he worked it the slow way. He knew from the fraying near map and from the steadier landmarks that still held, which builders in the city were the careful ones. The ones who ran safe sites, paid fair, lasted. The ones a man could build a stable life around instead of scraping job to job. One of them, a careful older builder named Halvorson, who ran small, clean residential jobs, would in the natural course of things have crossed David's path only glancingly. Ethan set himself to thicken that thread. A word here, a charmed boy's enthusiasm there, an engineered errand that put his father in the right place, a small steady pressure, banked over months, toward the careful builder and away from the careless ones. It was not magic and it was not fast. But David Cole was a good carpenter with all 10 fingers and a reputation for careful work, and careful builders wanted careful carpenters, and all Ethan really had to do was nudge the two toward each other often enough that they met properly instead of glancingly. By the second year, the threads converged. Halvorson had steady work and liked what he saw in David's hands. David, wary now of the careless end of the trade, wanted exactly the kind of steady, clean jobs Halvorson offered. They came together the way Ethan had steered them, and it looked, from the outside, like nothing but a good carpenter catching a deserved break. The break changed the family's whole footing, and Ethan watched it happen with a satisfaction deeper than any investment had ever given him. Because money was armor, but a safe life was better armor. With Halvorson, David worked clean residential sites in the city, not careless jobs out past the edge of nowhere. He drove safer roads, kept saner hours, came home less worn. The pay was steady and steady fair pay, added to the quietly growing foreknowledge money beneath them, lifted the family off the knife's edge of not quite poor and onto solid ground. The hard winters would not bite the way they had. The desperate need that had driven David to Vance's dangerous work would not come again, because the need itself was gone. And with the need gone, the river lost its easiest tool. There would be no more hard winters forcing his father onto bad roads for quick money, because there would be no more hard winters of that kind at all. It was, Ethan understood, a more complete save than the morning on the road had been. The road had been a single thread cut. This was the loom changed. The whole pattern of his father's life shifted off the dangerous track and onto a safe one, the circumstance that had killed him quietly dismantled. The river could still surprise him. The near map was dying, and the future held things Ethan could not see. But the great structural danger of his father's life, a careless trade, a desperate need, a bad road that he had taken apart board by board over 2 patient years. He sat on the basement steps one evening, watching his father plane a board for a Havorson job, easy and unworried in a way the first life David had rarely been, and let himself feel the shape of what the long game was building. It was not a single victory. It was a life being rebuilt, day by day, choice by steered choice, into something safer and steadier and warmer than the first life had ever allowed. The road had been the crisis, this was the cure. And Ethan was coming to understand that this, the patient reshaping of the ordinary, might be the truest work of his whole second life, more than any single dramatic save, the slow, quiet trading away of every danger he could reach, until the people he loved stood on ground so solid that even the river could find no easy way to take them. There would be larger dangers. The tide was coming, and the watcher and the unmapped years. Against those, a steady job and a safe road would mean nothing. But Ethan would face those when they came, with the power he was growing in the dark. For now, in the good years before the storm, he did the work in front of him. He made his father's life safe, board by board, and watched David Cole grow easy and unworried in a saved life he would never know he'd been given. "Pass me that square, bud," David said, not looking up, easy as anything. "Here, Dad," Ethan said, and handed it over, and stayed on the steps in the warm sawdust light, playing the long game the only way it could be played, one ordinary, patient, loving day at a time.